Hey, good morning, TCA family. Thank you guys for joining us today. We're excited to be on this live. We have a special guest. His name is Tavias. This guy's our enrollment director. He's been doing some amazing things with the TCA family and with his own business as well. This guy was almost homeless a little bit close to about a year ago, was able to join our family, change his mindset and create a six-figure standalone business of his own. So he's doing some amazing things. Excited to have him on.
Yeah, and Tavias has some great advice for everyone here. Even we need to hear this advice sometimes. So we're excited to get the gems going so you can start thinking like a big time investor. No more playing small, guys. We got to think big. So before we get started, you know what to do. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the bell to be notified when we drop new videos each week. And don't forget to comment below. We want to hear what you guys have to say. So before we get started, go ahead.
Yeah, and if you guys are interested in working with the TCA family, we always drop a link below these videos. So I'm excited to have you go ahead and apply, and our family will take care of you. Also, we haven't done this in a while. Go ahead and comment your location below. We want to know, where you guys are coming in from, where you're starting your journey, where you're getting your first few deals.
Yeah, we want to see where everybody's at. There's a lot of people all over the country. So we want to hear where you're at. Shout out your location. So without further ado, let's go ahead and bring on Tavias. How's it going, man?
Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Good morning, good morning, man. We are so excited to have you on the channel. You've been helping so many students. A lot of the success stories actually on our channel are people that you kind of were able to talk to, guide them into the program, and make sure this was the right fit. So we know you got some magic juice over there, right?
Yeah, it feels good. It feels good. I can't thank TCA enough for what it's done. So I'm just trying my best to help as many people get the help that I got, and that's the whole reason why I'm part of the family.
I love it, bro. I want to know, who is Tavias? Who is Tavias? What's your story, man? Where do you come from? And, talk about some of the battles that you dealt with close to a year ago.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Tavias is just a hardworking guy, just like anybody else who, ran into some bad luck. Like, last year was a really, really tough time for me. Even though I'm surrounded by the right people, I took chances on things with working with companies, doing consulting and contracting with companies that just never paid me. And, just like anything else, if you don't get paid, the bills don't stop coming just because you ain't getting paid. And so the bills kept coming, and it got closer and closer to more and more of looking like I was going to lose my house. I was going to lose everything. And I was going to be homeless or, have to move back with my parents, which they had a situation where I couldn't really do that or didn't even really want to do that. So it was really, really trying, and things kind of evened out, right? We kind of just got better. It was just not good, but it wasn't so desperate at that moment. And then I've only been with the team since March of this year. And when I first got started, I just had a lot of skepticism as much as anybody else. Trailers, like, why am I? No, there's no way there's money in it. Right. And then I started to do more research. I forgot, we lived in, my parents, raised me in it for a little bit before moving up. And then my grandma, my aunts, they lived in it. And I just never realized it because my mind never clicked. And that was the first thing. And I talked with Jay. And then from there was just our connection and how much he cared not only about myself and making sure that I was a good fit for the team, but how much he cares about the clients and the impact that every single person that comes in brings. And from there, the life is a 360, turnaround that, you love to hear. Between March and August, I have made more money with TCA than I did in all of 2019. I've been able to put myself in a position to be I really look forward to the future. I am not a husband. I am not a father. But now 2019 was the scariest thing ever, thinking of it from that position. And now I'm ready. If I become a father, I'm just, I'm ready for that. There's no fear, there's no shame. And it's all thanks to this family. I can't think of enough.
I love it. I love it, Tavias. And I was the same way. It was crazy because, I had been in and out of mobile homes a lot of my life and just never realized that they were mobile homes until I got into this business and I really was more aware of what a manufactured home looks like and where they're at. So same thing there. And we love you having you on the team, bringing in so many students that really, you see the potential. Sometimes they just need a little bit of a push. And so we're going to kind of get into that in a little bit. But
I want to know as well, for those individuals that are coming in that have a similar background or in that same situation that you were in, with 2019. Before we even start off, what's one piece of advice that you took to help, accelerate your career?
The biggest advice that I would give you is plug in the people that you think will actually care about your outcome, right? One of the biggest things that me and you talked about, Jay, and I'll never forget on the first call, is you were making sure that I wasn't so tainted by 2019 that I wasn't going to put in the effort when I got on the team. You're like, look, I got you. I'll help you, right? And you got to make sure you're not such in that, rut that your mindset, you're going to let me help you. And if you can literally be around the people that are like, I want to help you, I promise I'll help you, that's what you need to be. Because if you try to do things by yourself, it is going to be a struggle, and it's going to continue to be a struggle without having that. So just look for the right people you feel honestly care about you as individuals and not just the outcome of what happens.
And I like the fact that, you took accountability for you. You started leading you. We always say, hey, we are leaders. We are not saviors. I cannot save you from any situation. I can help lead you and give you guidance. You make the right choices and take the right action to get yourself out of your predicament. And you did just that. So we appreciate you. I want to get into a couple of these comments. I just want to see who's coming in with us, man. Where's everybody coming in from? We got Florida up in here. Who else we got? Nashville's in the house. Right. North Carolina. Good to see Coach Boyd in here. Preacher Man T-Dub.
Preacher Man.
Williams in here in Manifest. Charity, good morning to you. Looks like we got Sacramento in here. A lot of Georgia in here.
Good morning, Michelle.
Always like to see Kelly in here. She's up in here. Concord, California as well.
Back and forth. California, Texas, doing deals.
North Carolina. And we even got Samira's hometown, Albuquerque, New Mexico in the house.
What's up? What
do you call them? What do you guys call Lobos or something like that?
Well, that's a school. Lobos.
Yeah.
Awesome. No, Tavias, it's amazing. And I wanted to, before we go into the next question, something that we're going to touch on and start commenting your questions below, start commenting your fears below too, because this is a lot of the mindset that it takes to start thinking big. If we're not able to address those fears and look at them head on, how can we ever overcome them? So comment them below. We want to talk about them. We're going to have Tavias talk about them, but also comment your mobile home investing questions. We'll bring those on as well.
Yeah. And no matter where you are in your mobile home investing journey, there's always some sort of fear. We've got fears right now. My biggest fear is just, looking at myself 6 months or 12 months from now and just being stagnant, being in the same place. And, the people around us looking at us like, you guys aren't challenging yourselves. So that's a big fear of mine. So this is why we push ourselves each and every day to stretch ourselves out of that comfort zone to get into that wealth zone. So I want to know from you guys, what are your fears? Tavias, man, you starting off just being transparent. What's your biggest fear right now?
My biggest fear is complacency because of what has happened. I live a really good life compared to 2019. I am capable of doing things that I wasn't capable of. And I don't want to get complacent to the point where, like you said, a year from now, 2 years from now, I'm still at the exact same place or even worse, backstepping. I feel like if I'm in the same place a year from now, that is a step backwards. And so I am, when you start to learn these things and become good at what you do, you can get really good to where it's simple and easy. But you can also become stagnant because everything becomes simple and easy. And that's where the problems lie. So that's my biggest fear, which is why I'm, trying to get bigger and better and do the more things.
So, man, just shifting up from, where you were, you started gaining skill sets. And now even coming in, we had our first phone call. You've had a lot of people coming at you wanting to use your skill sets for to help grow their own business. And, even when we had some success, we've also had some major downturns, even with TCA, and you still chose to stay with the TCA family. I just want to know, what is it about the community, the people in it, that made you decide like, hey, even though there's, other opportunities out there, I want to stick it through with TCA to the end?
Well, two big reasons. One is the actual TCA family, being surrounded by, both of you, having access to you, and the fact that you actually care about the little things that go on in my life, and then seeing the coaches, Brandon and Jason and everybody, and how they're so wanting to help. Like if anybody that's not in decides to join, when I tell my students to make a post right away, because when you make a post, Jason and Brandon and rushing in there to welcome you. What you need? How can I help you? What's going on? Let's go. And I just love that. And there's no place I've ever been a part of where they care about you as individuals and your life and making sure that you're good Whereas mostly it's always been, what can you do for me? It's always been that my entire life, and not so much from the other side. But the second thing is these students. I love the fact that I'm a part of something that when my students come in and they listen to me, I get phone calls with them, tears rolling down their eyes. Tavious, I got my first deal in 30 days. So, you did it. You were right. Thank you for pushing me. And I get those. And the thing is, I don't get them every now and then. I get them once a week. I get them all the time. There's constantly students who are calling me to thank me for helping them get across that line because they knew there was something missing. And now there's something answering. They see such a bright future. And there's no greater feeling. That's my purpose, is helping people. And there's no greater feeling than when someone else's life has changed and they thank you for it.
Yeah, and I appreciate you sharing that, man. I know even with your schedule, you got a busy schedule. You're running your business. You're still taking out time to be here today. Each of the coaches, they're out in the field, and Coach Boyd running things. Got a new land project. He's just taking it on his shoulders and getting that going. Seeing a lot of success so far. Coach Gully, taking time out of his birthday weekend to still come in and share some gems with the family. Coach Session being out in the field, having a $30,000 a month and still showing up on each and every call. And Mark Anthony, he's a jack of all trades, consistently showing up though whenever us or a student needs him. So we appreciate you sharing that. Yeah. But let's get into the meat and potatoes of what we're talking about. We're talking about the mindset shift. So on your calls, you always talk about this with the students. You talk about going from that I call it that hustler mindset, that the solopreneur, on over to the CEO mindset. We're going to bring out the cash flow quadrant. We did not create this. It's from Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. If you haven't read that book, definitely read that. But Tavious, why do you choose to use this type of theory? And then how did this impact you and your lifestyle?
I choose to use this because if you think of everything as such a huge, anything could be overwhelming if you look at it in a total big picture. So if you look at everything from a business owner's perspective before actually thinking about where you are, that can be overwhelming, that can be daunting, that can be scary. So is the investor, so is even the self-employed. By using this to understand where you're at and where you want to go, it allows you to try to figure out where your transition is. And so for me, it was more like, okay, I am an employee, which is why 2019 was so scary, because I was an employee. I was not in any control. I had no leverage, right? How do I get to the point where I have my leverage, right? And then looking at how I can become self-employed to the investor and to the business owner is what really scaled it up. And so do you want me to dive more into what the quadrants in and how students are really?
Yes, absolutely. I was just going to say, for the people that have not seen this quadrant before, can you kind of go into how it works and the mindset behind it?
Sure. Most people will fall under the employee, right? Most people that talk to us that want to join our community are employees. They're tired of it, right? They want to get out of it. They want to get freedom. They want to get their time back. But the problem is that it's a lot of comfort, right? It's a very, very comfortable position. You know that if you work this amount of time, you're going to make this amount of money. That's where things start to get good. And then a lot of times it does come from our history, right? The way we were brought up, the culture we're around says, hey, you go to work, you do your job, you make a decent living, and it's no problem. It's not like our parents' fault. It's all they wanted. Everybody wants is for you to get a little bit better than what they had, right? They just want you to have a better life than what they had. And that's the best way they perceive it. The problem with the employee part of it is it can be so much of a comfort zone that it becomes an addiction. And the addiction is how do I get a little bit more inside of my comfort zone, right? Overtime. Overtime is something people jump into. Time and a half. So they end up working on holidays. Things like that where you're still trading so much more time for money instead of actually putting yourself in a better position. It's just more perceived value because your check is bigger than what it was, but it's still just more of your work. Mm-hmm. And so as you start to move on, you go, okay, I want to get to the business owner mindset, but I'm a little scared. It's risky. So the simplest thing that people do is go to the self-employed side. Now, this is self-employed specialist can go two ways. It could be something as simple as getting a higher paying job, doctors, lawyers, people who make really, really good money in their field, to contractors and things like that, to also just starting your own small business. But when you go into this, you're still owned by that job, whether you are in a specialist position and you need to do more trainings to get further and further in your ever-growing field, or if you have your own business and you have to work, 80 hours a week in it just to make the same level of money that people do as an employee, it's still your job is owning you. And so, but that's the simplest way that people can perceive it, which is why colleges are so popular. And then when you start to move on towards the investor side, this is usually the biggest scary part. The first time you have to actually put out money in order to get things back. So this is where leverage starts to come in. Being an investor, you're only looking for the best return on investment. The problem when going from self-employed or employee to the investor is return on investment usually means that you're taking money out of your own pocket, something you've worked really hard for. And if you've worked 2 years to save up $10,000, right? And someone says that's what it's going to be, your mindset goes, but if it doesn't work, I've wasted the last 2 years. So that's the biggest scary part. Once you are the investor, it's not so much scary to go from investor to business owner because you're used to it and you're ready for the systems. But that's the biggest scary point, is that point becoming an investor. And then once you are an investor, and you're moving on to that business owner aspect, what you're trying to do is leverage everything. You're trying to be a person who has so many systems in place that your business practically can run itself. So it is a lot more upfront work, but the payoff in the long run is what everybody wants to see, everybody wants to have. And so the biggest difference from the left side to the right side is literally time and money. On the left side, the more money you make is based solely on how much more time you put in, and there's no other way to get out of it, which means you work more and more for that bigger payoff. The people on the right side, they leverage OTM, or other people's time, OPT, and then other people's money, OPM. They're trying to leverage things that are others, that are not theirs, in order to increase it. And so that's where we have to be. We have to start to understand from that investor standpoint, I can do one of two things. I can invest what I have in order to grow it, or I can invest what someone else's have in order to grow my business, because the payoff is going to be so much better. And we have to understand that from a logical standpoint so that we don't get stuck in the employee mindset because we're so scared of losing. Well, that's why we use other people's money, because you want to put yourself in a position to grow. You want to put yourself in a position to build up, and that's where we go from there.
Yeah.
Hey, Tavias, man, I got a question for you, because we shifted to the B&I category, and we had some fears. I think our biggest fear was, man, like, I still don't know how to use other people's time properly. I don't know how to use other people's money properly. And it really always comes down to skill sets, really taking out time to learn and then bring in the right people that has that knowledge that you're looking for. You do that, they're going to help you figure it out. You're going to bring in the right people to help you get to the promised land. But for that individual is that in that left side, that quadrant, that's saying, hey, I work 50 to 70 hours a week, plus I have kids, plus I've got this, that, and the third. I don't have a bunch of time, or I don't have a bunch of money. How can you get them to shift their mindset out of that so that they can start believing that they can shift to the right side?
Well, it's, the word that, everyone likes to hear or understands more is the scarcity mindset. It's when you start to think of things, you can either be stuck in where you are, resourceful, right? That's your two options, really. You can say, hey, I just don't got the time. I just don't got the money. And then if you don't, and that's your only thought process, that's just where you're going to stay, because there's no solutions to I don't and I can't, right? But if you become resourceful, it's okay. How can I have the time? How can I have the money? You talked about me. Yes, I have a big enough business now. I don't have the time for certain things. But guess what? There's so many other people who may not have the money, but have so much of the time, more time to actually study, learn, become better at that skill set than I'll ever be, which means that my return on this person working for me is going to be so much more, because if I did it myself, I can only learn but so much while I'm still running the whole business, while they can continue to learn and grow. And every time they learn and grow and get better at what they do, my business grows. And so we have to start thinking about, is there other people that we can use? Is there other resources? There's so many different credit options, and credit is one of the biggest things that people are taught. That's so wrong. People are so scared of it. It's this taboo. Don't ever use, don't touch it. That's not it is. Using other people's money. If I say that if I generate 10,000 and I use somebody else's 10,000 and my return on investment is going to be 10,000 in 90 days, then that means I get to do that 4 times over the course of the year to make 40,000 on my $10,000 that I never even used of my own money. You got to start learning how to leverage these things. And if you don't have the credit, you have to learn how to network. You have to learn how to put yourself, get resourceful. That's the biggest thing that people have. When you say no to something, you close all doors. When you say, I don't know how, but I'm going to figure it out, there's a plethora of things. It's a world of opportunity that is at your front door. None of us are special. I'm not special. You know, no offense to you, Jay and Samara, but y'all not more special than anybody else. It's just the only difference is that we got resourceful while other people go, whew, nah, can't do it. Oh, well. And then they go back to their regular job.
No, that's perfect. That's perfect. You know, and, you know, time is our most limited resource. If we're not leveraging other people's time and other people's money, we're so limited in how much we can grow and expand. When we're just saying, hey, I have to work each day to make this amount of money. There's only so many hours in the day, and then you run out of hours, and you're not thinking bigger. And so that's the whole thing that we're talking about today, thinking bigger. How can we leverage other people's time and putting, like you said, being resourceful to be able to put systems, people, and other people's money in place to help us leverage and grow. So I love that.
And I think it always comes down to learning. You mentioned that earlier as well. So we say this all the time with our students in our coaching. Usually there's some type of skill set that you need in order to get to the next level. So you need to activate your mind. You need to activate your body. You need to get these skill sets so that you can get to that application phase. You're taking these skills that you learn, you're applying it, and then you reach acceleration by applying that constantly and not being afraid to make some mistakes and move on through the process. So let's get through a couple of these fears right here as well.
Go ahead, Jay.
Let me see if we got a couple. I want to bring this to you, Tavias. Biggest fear, not finding a deal in 30 days because I acted on the wrong deals or haven't put enough work in, talking to agents with potential work with them, but not knowing I need to know. So what can you say to this guy right here, man? Biggest fear, not finding a deal in 30 days. Let's just pick this apart.
Well, that comes with two sides of it. There's one side of it is if you're doing this alone, you have to bump your head. You can't not be afraid, because if you're going to be afraid, then again, you're going to go to sleep, you're going to wake up, you're going to do the same things that you do in life. You got to bump your head. It's just the way it is. Or you can have people like Jay and Samara, people like our team who can actually help you. And then there's no way you can do a wrong deal because they've done so many that they can help you. So, and you can't always think of everything in the short term. Short term is fun. It's fun to go out there and make $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 in your first month because you've probably never done that before. I know I never did before joining this program. So I know it can be fun. But when you start to think in just 30 days, failure becomes the easiest thing that you think of. What happens if that happens? Okay. What happens if you don't do it at all in 30 days? You don't act on anything. You don't do it by yourself. You don't find a team. Then in 30 days, are you still going to be where you are? Are you happy where you are? A year from now, will you still be where you are? Will you be happy a year from now? And those are the things that we have to. Your biggest fear shouldn't be what happens if you fail. Your biggest fear should be what happens if you don't do anything at all and you stay exactly where you are.
Exactly. And limiting yourself to just 30 days is dangerous, right? Because you're not looking at the progress that you make. Even if you don't close that first deal in 30 days, if you've gone from not doing anything, have no knowledge, have not made any action, to getting out there, giving offers, inspecting homes, learning, getting out there, getting your hands dirty, that's still a lot of progress in 30 days. So you have to give yourself some grace. It might take 60 days, and that's okay because we're still getting to those goals. And once you get the hang of it and you build that momentum, closing deals in 30 days is just like boom, boom, boom. Like a lot of our coaches, a lot of the people in the community, it just takes time to learn, and you have to give yourself some grace. But I know he said
not knowing what I need to know.
Yeah, not knowing what he needs to know, not putting the work in, getting into the wrong deals. All of those are some fears that he has. Did you want to address that, Jay? Yeah,
man. It's just a matter of the competency, the clarity comes from doing. It's not all of a sudden you're just going to walk out tomorrow. I'm going to figure out everything I need to know in order to get deals done in 30 days. Like Tavias said, it's really about what happens if you just don't take action. A year from now, are you going to be comfortable looking yourself in the mirror? Surround yourself around the right people. Give yourself some time. I think this is one of the things that held us back when we started off, is we wanted to get things done so far in 60 days and 90 days, only because we saw other people doing it. So we felt like failures because we weren't doing what they were doing. And it got to a point where we were just like, you know what? I'm not going to use that language, but you know what? I don't care what other people have to say. I'm not chasing after other people. I just want to be better than who I was yesterday. You start to give yourself a little bit more time, a little bit more grace, and allow yourself to go through the process. All of this, it's a process. It's a journey. Each person has their own individual process that you have to go through, whether it takes you 30 days or 90 days. Let's get into another
Thanks for
fear
being
here.
transparent. Those are
that was a really good
really
one.
great comments. Yeah.
Kendra says, my biggest fear is letting down my family, especially since the first fix and flip resulted in a loss. Oh man, we could really resonate to this one. I got a few things. I know you have a few things, but Tavias, I'm gonna let you pick this one apart.
Yeah, trust me, I definitely understand from that perspective, especially if you already went out there and failed. Because like I said, I did that. You know what I mean? I've let down, and I started to really be fearful of that. But the biggest fear is not learning from that mistake. And that's what should be your biggest fear, is if you made that mistake, it happened. It's in the past. There's literally nothing else you can do about it, right? But did you learn from it? What is something that you would do differently? If you can't do it by yourself, are you finding people that you can be around? And so that ties into, that once you take action, every time you make a mistake, you're learning a new way. Thomas Edison, electricity, like he said, I didn't, find 1,019 ways to not. I mean, I didn't fail 1,019 ways. I found I successfully found 1,019 ways it didn't work. And so that's how it is. If that didn't work, cool. What did you learn from it? How can you make the next one work? How can you be around it? And if you can't do it by yourself, plug into a team that will make sure that you do it. But you can't get so consumed with that loss that you don't move the needle forward, because your family will suffer even more.
And that's the epitome of letting the fear hold you back, right? It's like you have to be able to overcome what happened. It happened, address it, face it, like you said, learn your lessons from it and keep moving forward. Because at the end of the day, the reason you got into getting into fix and flipping and even resulting in that loss is because you have a big goal. And so keeping your eyes on the goal, keeping your eyes on the prize of what am I really trying to accomplish? What's my big why? How can I continue to push past what happened and know that I learned something and it won't happen again because now I'm smarter. So I love that, Tavias. That was really good.
Yeah, appreciate that, Tavias. I think the biggest fear is really you deciding to quit. Like that's really what's letting your family down. That's what they're looking like. They're like, man, this person, they got knocked down, they stayed down. I think it shows a lot about your grit, about your character. If you're able to, like Tavias said, take that loss and extract the lessons from it and make that decision, that conscious decision to move forward in spite of the obstacles that you're facing. So,
and it's not easy in the moment. I mean, we got knocked down and we was licking our wounds for a couple months. Like this really hurt, but we knew if we didn't get back up, if we didn't start taking action again, what result is that going to get? That's not going to get us the result of why we even got started in the first place. We had
a session yesterday with one of our marriage counselors, and it resonates to this. We were talking about different fears and things that we have, and it always comes down to your resume. You're basing who you are based on your resume. So if you would have closed that deal, you feel really good about yourself. You feel really good being around your family. But she said, think with the end in mind. Think about your eulogy versus your resume. What are people going to say about you? If this was your last week, if this was your last day of living, what would people say about you at your funeral? So if you decide to quit in this moment, would that be the last memory they have about you? So when you start living for your eulogy versus your resume, the game changes for you.
Because that's about your character. That's about the legacy that you leave behind. And it cannot stop with the loss. We got to get back up and make it a win.
It happens with our students too. Like, Alina, she talks about it. She, they got excited because their first one they grabbed, it was like, oh, it's a contract. That didn't go through. Then the second one didn't go through. Then the third one didn't go through. Then the fourth one, you know what I'm saying? They bumped their head so many times, but then when it finally happened, they kept going. They kept persevering. And once they got it, everything clicked. And now it's on second, third, fourth, fifth deal. But if they would have stopped at the second and third, they wouldn't be having the success that they have now.
I love that.
Absolutely. And Kendra even says, currently working on the number 2, learning patience and giving myself grace.
I love yourself some grace.
So let's get right back into it, man. I want to make sure I respect your time. I want to know, in your opinion, from your most successful students that you brought into the program, what's some of the language that some of those investors are having or using on a daily basis?
Well, the biggest things that they're looking for is, like, when they first get started, usually they want to know, how do I get my return, right? There is an investment to work with us. And their biggest thing is how to get a return. But the biggest thing that they're listening for is they listen. They're listening to what I have to say. They're listening to what Jay and Samara have to say. They're not going out there with their own preconceived ideas of how this all works. They're not asking so many questions to the point where, they're trying to learn the entire thing in one day on this call that I have with them. And they're not like, okay, so what happens if I run into, someone that needs to move a home? Do you have a home that needs to be moved right now? No. All right, then that's not a problem, right? Let's focus on what's going on right now. So they're more concerned with, how can I get out there and just get the ball rolling? And that's when I always talk about simplicity. Let's break things down. Stop thinking about the full deal. You can't sell a home you don't have. So learn what the lingo is first and just go find someone selling a home. That's where we break it down. If you think of it as that, okay, all I have to do is find somebody selling a home, things become easy, right? Okay, that's all I got to do right now. After you find that, then we can move on to the other steps. But none of it happens if you don't do that. And so really it's that. And then when they get inside, the biggest thing that they do is they ask questions. They're the ones who you could say, like, some people would probably be like, man, they're kind of annoying. They ask that many questions. That's good. You should be doing that. You should have a kind of a pit in your stomach that goes, am I asking Jay and Samir too many questions? Am I bugging them? Because the sooner you ask questions, the more you'll learn, the faster you'll stop asking, and the faster you'll no longer need us, right? We know Kim. She came in. She's a firecracker. She asked a bunch of questions, got her first deal in the first week. If she would have tried to use YouTube, if she would have tried to use Google, if she would have tried to figure out on her own, there's no way it would have happened. So beforehand, it's just about understanding what you need to do individually. And that's where we help you come up with that game plan on the call. And then after it, it's like, all right, I'm going to let them guide me, but I have to take action. I have to go out there and make things happen. And every time I bump my head, I need to ask questions, not try to do it by myself.
It's all about having that I can, I will, I must mentality. This is a perfect segue. Our man, Jay, we just had a call with him, a deal review call. When he came into the program, the main thing that he kept saying is, man, I got to rise like a phoenix. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know how I'm going to figure this thing out, but I'm going to rise like a phoenix. And we just had a call with him. He said he's already closed 7 different wholesale deals. And now he's working on scaling because he came in the game with that I can, I will, I must mindset. So I really appreciate you sharing that. If you guys are getting some value out of this video, be sure to hit the like. As always, we want this message to spread across to more people, and we want to make sure that this is the information that you guys want. So if you guys are liking it so far, hit that like button.
No, that's great. That's great. So, I mean, kind of keeping on the same topic, what are some of the habits that you see? I know you said there are listeners that ask questions, but is there any habits that you can think of that some of the more successful students are doing? Even, you talk a lot about changing the mindset from the employee, where we have to be told when to show up, what to do, to, the business owners where we're creating our destiny. What are some of those habits that can resonate to some of the people on the line here?
Well, I would say for anybody at any level, if you need a book to read, there's something called The Slight Edge. All right. The Slight Edge to me is the foundation of what I did to change my life. I also have another book called Psycho-Cybernetics that's really cool. But just so you understand a little bit more about what happens in the habits, is they always do the little things that makes the big difference. Like the purpose of the entire book is doing things like, hey, parking down the road a little bit so that you walk. And yeah, it's little, you only walk in, a little bit, but every day, if you have to walk that over the course of a year, how much more better is your lifestyle? Instead of cutting down all foods in this super diet, what if I just stop fast foods for now? Little things, the small, tiny things, instead of all chocolates, just, all, little candies. And over time, they start to build you up where next thing you know, you're a completely different person, that 1%. So when you come in and they have the habits of, I'm tired, but you know what? Let me at least watch one video, even if it's 10 minutes long. Let me at least get my idea together for what my business name will be. Let me at least hop on the call like this, even though I already have a business that's flourishing and I already have a business that's doing good, but let me go on here and just see if I can learn one little nugget. They're always trying to find the smallest thing that they can do to move the needle forward, even when they're not, I have 3 hours into their work. And when you can start to do that, you'll look back a year from now and go, how am I even here? Because you didn't make any super huge change. It was all little incremental.
And I'm laughing because I saw Samara shaking her head.
Yeah.
We just had a conversation about this. I'm definitely adding that to my book list, The Slight Edge. I love what you said because I'm reading a book called Atomic Habits, and he talks about the same thing. We were just talking about this. He said it's really about doing these making small incremental steps each and every day to get you into the habit of becoming a better person. What happens is you start to make these small changes, and then the compound effect happens. You start to, one habit starts to create another habit. You start habit stacking in the morning, afternoon, the evening. So I appreciate you sharing that. Did anything hit you? Because you shook your head pretty hard.
Yeah, no, I love it. It's the small changes. Like so many people underestimate, they overestimate what they can do in 30 days, 90 days. They're like, I'm going to build this business. I'm going to quit my job. Yes, but what can you really get done in a year if you give yourself some grace and some time to learn and just change and take step by step little changes each and every day? You'll be surprised when you look back a year from now, like, whoa, amazing progress can happen. So I really, really love that. And that's on my book list too.
And one more time, somebody wants to know, Sue wants to know, can you name that book again, please, Tavias? Both of them, please. Yeah,
that's called The Slight Edge. The Slight Edge. I got to look up who the name, I think it's Jeff something. For The Slight Edge. And the other one is Psycho-Cybernetics. Psycho-Cybernetics gets into the mind of how your mind works. And it's based on a plastic surgeon who would actually change someone's entire appearance, and they would still think that they were ugly. They would still think they would literally have a completely different face that nobody would recognize them. And then to themselves, they look exactly the same. So it's talking about how you can kind of rewire your brain in order to look at everything as positive. If you're surrounded by me now, compared to the old me, you will see there's a completely difference in how I perceive everything. Nothing really makes me upset, mad, angry, or flusters me because I understand how the mind works now. And that's really good for just rewiring, where you can look at and see everything from a actual logical standpoint instead of so much of the emotional or so much of what your past has taught you. So that's a really good book for that.
Oh, that's
I love it. And I believe that that author you were looking for, Jeff Olson.
Yeah, I thought it was
look at people looking out.
And then Felipe, he's got a book as well. He's got You Two Squares, a great book as well in regards to taking a quantum leap. I think that's incredible. Got a question here as well. Is there a coach in SoCal I can contact for more guidance? Absolutely. Great thing about our coaches is we actually broke them up into regions. We've seen so many different deals coming through, so much success. Our coaches have a lot of information, a lot of guidance they can provide you with in Southern California as well as Northern California. So TCA will take care of you. Thank you so much for that question. But Tavias, man, wrapping it on up, I just want to know, what's the one piece of advice you can give to somebody that's got their call booked with either you, Tasha, Tavias, or Rod? Like, what's the one piece of advice you can give to them right now in this moment to help them move forward?
It's something funny because I first seen it on Facebook and I started to think more and more about it. But we got to think of it as life is a struggle. No matter what it is, life is going to be a struggle. Whether you're going to be healthy or whether you're going to be, obese and not healthy, they're both going to be a struggle. Whether you're going to be rich or whether you're going to be poor, there's a struggle. Whether you're going to be a business owner or an employee, there's going to be a struggle. You have to pick and choose what side of that struggle you're going to be on, because only one side gets better. Being healthy becomes better. Being a business owner becomes better with time. And so you got to get out of your own way and get out of your own mindset and choose the struggle that's going to make your life better, and not only your life, but those who surround me. I do nothing of my own accord. I am probably the simplest man you will ever meet. Give me a TV and an Xbox and I am happy for life, right? But everything that I do has nothing to do with me. It has to do everything with my future wife. It has everything to do with my future kids. It has everything to do with the future things and cultures and things that I can take them on, the excursion, the journeys, the memories. So I picked the struggle of where I can help them have the lifestyle that they never had, and not the struggle of what ifs, the what cans. And I will not sit back at the end of my life and regret the things that I've done.
Woo, man, if I had some fire emojis, I'd be throwing them out right now. We really appreciate you taking time out of your day to come and provide some value to everyone. I have this one last question. What do you do if your loving spouse is your biggest naysayer and adversary? I know for me, for sure, it's just going out there, taking action in spite of what your spouse says. And then you going out and you going out there getting the results the results of have your spouse, you know, kind of like transform their mind and get on your side. But Tavias, what would you say to that, man?
It's better to ask for forgiveness with money than permission. That's the biggest thing. You know, I've had some, you know, some of my loved ones in my corner kind of question what I was doing or because it wasn't working and let's make it happen. But when the checks come and I can start planning trips, things like that, it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier to say I'm sorry with a check in your hand than it is to ask for permission to go out there and get it. So if that's not possible, if you can't just go out there and do it, to be honest, you know, have the candid conversation of the what if you don't. What are we going to be as a family? How are we going to be a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, if we don't take action on this? And I'm not saying just with TCA, with anything you want in your life, even if it comes to working out, if they don't want to work out and it's affecting their health, where are they going to be 5 years from now? And if you can have that candid conversation, then I think that if they truly trust in you and you truly believe in you, then let your emotions, let your fire, let your desire lead them in the way that you feel it should.
That's beautiful. Have the conversation, y'all. Don't get these people kicked out of their house. Have the conversation, but like you said, let them know how much this means to you and what you, like you said, what happens if you don't do this? Then what? That's the real scary thing. You don't stay have my back. Of course. You know, I support you, but do not get these people kicked out of their house.
No, but we really appreciate you guys joining us. Tavias, man, this was amazing. I took a lot of notes myself. I appreciate all the gems as well as the books that you shared. Again, guys, if you're interested in working with us, go ahead and apply at the link below. If you guys have any additional questions, comments, fears, we want to know those as well. Go ahead and comment those below.
And continue to let us know where you guys are located. We want to see where everybody is tuning in from. So go ahead and leave those in the comments below. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much, Tavias. You dropped so many gems on this. I'm going to have to replay this video just because there was so much good stuff here. So thank you again. And everybody have a great rest of your day.
Thank you so much. And if anybody needs anything, feel free to reach out. I'm an open book. So let's get together.
There we go. All right now.
Bye, guys.